Since September, we, the International Students Committee,
have been preparing for the 52nd St. Gallen Symposium.
A place to bring people together of different generations, backgrounds and ideas.
Our focus on the theme of a new generation contract is just the starting point.
In our efforts to listen, talk and debate on tomorrow, our future.
And we know that we cannot achieve this alone.
Without our partners, leaders of tomorrow, over 500 student volunteers and many, many more,
bringing the symposium to life would not have been possible.
Our team has devoted countless of hours
to perfecting every detail, big and small,
to ensure that the coming 2 days
will be inspiring and impactful for all of you.
More than 1,000 participants from around 100 nations
have chosen to be here at the 52nd St. Gallen Symposium
to engage in open and honest dialogue.
Now it's up to each of us to make the most
out of this unique gathering.
Let us continue to collaborate.
Together we can learn from the past,
act in the present,
and work towards a better tomorrow.
By leading with the next generation in mind.
The people you've just seen have put in over 40,000 hours to make this happen. The three of us are not in the video, but some of you might recognize us from last year's St. Gallen Symposium. We were part of the 51st International Students Committee, and together we led this year's team through their 9-month journey. My name is Cyril.
I'm Deborah.
And I'm Leo. Nice to meet you. Did you know that in this room, over 100 countries are present? That's about half of all countries of this globe being here at the symposium. In over 100 countries, people packed their bags and traveled to St. Gallen. And we all know why we are here, to come to the platform for cross-generational dialogue. This is the place where young meets experienced, where global leaders from business, politics, and society meet young top voices. And the St. Gallen Symposium has a proud history of fostering dialogue, ideas, and brilliant encounters. Because we believe that our campus here, with its unique blend of history, tradition, and modernity, provides the perfect setting for such a gathering. And we need to bridge the gap between generations. So why don't we do it here? And within the next 2 days, we are over 1,000 total. And that means together, we can build solutions and create lasting impact. And everybody is here to address the most pressing issues of our time. Now, let us tell you why you've made the right choice to be sitting here with us today.
We're facing immediate crisis, and at the same time, should not lose sight of long-term issues and transformations. Just think about how many of the challenges we're facing today could have been avoided before they even appeared, how we just thought 1 or 2 steps ahead. Probably most. Those of you who were with us last year might remember that our community gave us the mandate to develop a new generational contract. Well, that's what we've done. Together with the Club of Rome, we have developed a vision along the question, what do we owe each other as generations? We've spent our year conducting surveys, hosting global workshops, and working closely together with the members of the Club of Rome and the University of St. Gallen's newly established St. Gallen Collegium. The result? 7 principles that will follow you along during the next few days. They are responsibility, care, voice, collaboration, hindsight and foresight, regeneration, and openness. Now, it's time to use the 52nd St. Gallen Symposium as a global sounding board and to move from vision to action. We've already launched 3 impact projects, including the Young Leaders on Board project, together with Zukunftsfabrik 2050. By the way, you can find a booth on that in the entrance of the main building, and there will be a session titled Shaping Your Future Board with the Next Generation on Friday afternoon. We're excited for further projects and impact streams to be launched in the coming years along the new generational contract initiative. And right now, we're looking forward to co-creating its future together with you over the next 2 days.
But why do we need to come to St. Gallen for cross-generational dialogue? Cross-generational dialogue can be heard everywhere as a buzzword nowadays. But we have been doing this for 50 years. For 50 years, we have served as a source of inspiration and a catalyst for change. Think about it. This is a long time in the fast-moving world of management and a long time for a student initiative. Managers meet students, politicians meet business people, Europeans meet Asians, and so on. All of this here on our campus. And this is always founded on a single clear idea, the idea of dialogue. And through that, there's always this special thing here. We call it the St. Gallen spirit. What does it even mean? A spirit of collaboration, innovation, and inspiration. Open dialogue, free thoughts in an atmosphere of mutual trust. And this spirit is being created by all of us through the dialogue in the next days. By cultivating this spirit together, we can create leaders who lead with the next generation in mind. So let's enjoy this great atmosphere here and spread it back at home afterwards to create impact together. Now, you might ask yourself, how can you get the spirit? Well, I have one concrete idea for you. Find at least 5 leaders from a different generation each day here at the symposium and talk to them. Let them challenge your thoughts and get inspired by their visions. And maybe when you're back at home and you're about to make a decision, you think back to your encounters here in St. Gallen.
Over the next 2 days, over 70 sessions will take place here on campus. I'm sure they will give plenty of material to discuss with all generations. As an economics student myself, with a particular interest in macroeconomic and finance, one of the sessions I'm most looking forward to is the generational impacts of monetary policy and inflation, with Professor Thomas Jordan, chairman of the governing board of the Swiss National Bank, and Professor Manuel Ammann, professor of finance and soon to be president of the University of St. Gallen. Amanda Sineker, someone from our team, will be moderating this session and bringing in the perspective of the next generation. What sessions are you guys most looking forward to?
That's not an easy choice, of course, but I'm really curious about the session Privacy and the Data-Driven Economy that will be taking place this afternoon on this stage right here. The panel will try to find a balance between privacy and an environment where data can be used for innovation. Trying to tackle this challenge will be Keith Enright, Chief Privacy Officer at Google, John Denton, Secretary General from the International Chamber of Commerce, and Maria Valente, Assistant Professor of International Economy. How about you, Leo?
I'm particularly looking forward to Nikolai Tang, because when I was still in my last school years, I have read an article about him and I was quite impressed. But I have not seen Nikolai Tangen in a cross-generational dialogue panel. So therefore, I'm looking forward to 2 p.m. today, right on this stage, to see him together with someone of our team, Lynn, here on this stage.
As you've just heard, our sessions are cross-generational, but many of our sessions you could have watched online. The real reason all of you are here today is to participate in intergenerational dialogue. Therefore, I urge you, take this opportunity to talk to people from different ages and backgrounds. Leaders of tomorrow, please don't be scared to approach the more senior person, maybe, more experienced. And dear senior leaders, there are plenty of opportunities to talk to other CEOs and managing directors. However, the leaders of tomorrow are only here during these 2 days. So talk to them. They are the next workforce, customers, and colleagues. So let's find out a way how we can complement each other, collaborate, and innovate. I know this sounds maybe scary or unusual for some of you at first, but don't worry. The more you do it, the easier it gets, and the more interesting it becomes. We try to give you as many opportunities as possible. You can strike up a conversation during our coffee or lunch breaks, as well as our evening program. If anyone has already made reservations for tonight, cancel them now, because the important discussions will happen here on campus.
After months of planning these days and committing ourselves to this initiative, I'm excited to see everything Cyril just described come to life. All of this would never have been possible without our team you saw in the intro video. Thanks to them, all of you are sitting here today and our campus is transformed. If you'd like to thank them yourself, know something about the program, our year, or simply want to know where the next coffee point is, you'll recognize us by these SVS pins. Come to us, come by to us, talk to us. I'm looking forward to interesting discussions. If I may remind you of Leo's tip, please talk to 5 people a day from a different generation and let yourself be fully immersed in the St. Gallen spirit. Please also do us a favor, don't forget it when you leave this campus. Take it with you wherever you go, because we are convinced that the world needs more of it. Before we hand over to Professor Ehrenzeller, the president of our university, there is only one thing left for us to say. Thank you for being here. Enjoy the next few days and make the most of it. Thank you very much.
Good morning all together, Excellencies, honored guests, and dear members of the International Students Committee, dear President and members of the foundation of the symposium, and of course, most importantly, dear leaders of tomorrow. A new generational contract. This is the promise and this is the ambition of this year's St. Gallen Symposium. Last year, 50 years after the Club of Rome presented its seminal treatise, The Limits of Growth, here in St. Gallen, the bond between the two organizations was reaffirmed and redirected toward the effort of strengthening the ties that bind us all. The ties that bind humans across generations, irrespective of their background. With the insights and ideas of you, the leaders of tomorrow, the symposium will present principles of a new generational contract and explore how we can build on these towards a promising future for us all. As the president of the University of St. Gallen, I could not wish for a better theme. I could not wish for a more worthy purpose to gather this year here. A very warm welcome to all of you here at the University of St. Gallen. It is an honor and a joy that you have traveled from all parts of the world to join us here today on campus. 125 years ago, our university was founded as a humble academy, as Handelsakademie, for budding merchants who desired a more well-rounded education, so that they would be better equipped to deal with the ever more demanding world of commerce and trade. Ready to, as our founders said, venture across international thresholds. A generation recognizing the challenges to and the changes in the dominant trade of our region joined forces to make the vision of a novel institution of higher education with international outreach a reality. With that, they invested in the generational contract. Education is, after all, an expression of our belief in the responsibilities of one generation to another. Each generation hopes to equip its successors with the means, the knowledge, and the desire to pursue a good life and to take care of the foundations of such a good life for generations to come. Education also equips each generation with the insights and the confidence to question its predecessors. Universities are thus the breeding ground for a fertile, at times heated debate of our visions of the future. Or, to put it differently, a cross-generational lab to explore what future we desire and to lay the foundations to make such a future happen. I'm excited to hear your visions for the future, and I'm even more excited to see you working towards these visions, as we heard it, what we do with 5 persons each day here. Together, united across the generations and continents. Let's start today. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, honored guests, Your Excellencies, it's a very great pleasure once again to be back in St. Gallen. This is the 25th conference I've attended consecutively, and I can't tell you I'm as excited today as I was when I first came here, for a number of reasons. One, I think that's the best presentation as an introduction I've heard from students ever. And the rector of the university has said, the rector of the university have said what a distinguished institution this is and how it has created for itself a remarkable niche. But for me, the reason I've liked it is, one, it always addresses current issues which are important. It's a bridge between the generations. It's interdisciplinary. It's about economics, it's about business, it's about science, it's about sociology, it's about culture, it's about philosophy. It's international, as we've heard. And finally, it's organized entirely by the students. The 25 or so members of the student committee, they take a year off, they choose the subject, they decide on the program, they raise the money, they organize these 2 days, and then they have the support of 500 students from the university to help us. It's an extraordinary achievement, and I think for that they deserve another round of applause. It's also for me a great personal pleasure to return to St. Gallen and this campus. As a Welshman and a Celt, I always feel a sympathy for St. Gall who came here in the 7th century, an Irishman, a monk, and a missionary. He was very lonely. He was a pioneer. And whether he saw the bear and wrestled with the bear, I'm not sure. But he certainly felt he was in hostile territory. And he set up a hermitage, I think not realizing that a place like St. Gallen would be named after him, and that along with Greek and Roman civilization, he would be one of the founders of the growth of Western civilization, which we've experienced over the centuries. So today, the Abbey is rightfully a World Heritage Site. But I have to say that the pleasure of coming here is not just because of the place, but it's also the warmth of the reception, which we've received year after year coming from our Swiss hosts and the interest that they take in the event. To the Swiss people here, you really do a huge credit to your country. And I would feel, if I was Swiss, extremely proud of what this symposium has established over the years. As an alternative to what happened in France in 1968, it was a number of students from St. Gallen who set up this symposium because they wanted something alternative to the riots that they saw on the streets. And therefore, this symposium was not set up as some refined middle-class liberal talking shop, but it was set up with an urgency to address a real problem. And I have to say today, to tell you that in my personal judgment, the challenge we face today, the known unknowns, let alone the prospect of unknown unknowns, are more serious than at any time over the last 25 years when I've had the privilege of co-chairing this conference. Gone is the time that we could agree with Fukuyama that it was the end of history. There would be the progress of liberal parliamentary democracies. Gone is the time that we could agree with somebody like Tony Blair, who said it was only worth debating globalization if you felt that autumn would follow summer. Gone is the progress that we worked, and I was personally involved, in helping China join the World Trade Organization. The problems today are very, very serious. We have an ongoing war in mainland Europe, in Ukraine, and the prospect of war in the South China Sea and Taiwan. The US-China relations are at a new low, and Xi and Biden are not talking to each other. What we have is a zero-sum contest for the global resources of a finite planet. Secondly, we have a global banking crisis. Only at the beginning of this week, we saw in the US the collapse of the First Republic Bank and its rescue by the government. One never knows how many pockets within the international financial system there are where there's too much debt, it's priced incorrectly, and you could easily have a small fire developing which could spread. And thirdly, we are seeing the growth of economic nationalism, protectionism, increased subsidies, as in the Inflation Act in the States, to domestic businesses, and the abandonment of free trade as a goal, and effectively the disenabling of the World Trade Organization. At the same time, we find that technology and AI is taking us into virgin territory, and not even the experts know what's going to happen. Those are the external challenges. What worries me, and I speak here from my experience in the United Kingdom, are the internal challenges. First of all, we see the growth of nationalism, and Brexit, frankly, was an expression of nationalism. But we are also seeing the devastating cost of inflation. It's not just that inflation wrecks the value of a market economy in collaborating buyers and sellers, but it's also the way inflation arbitrarily redistributes income and creates a culture of distrust. People go into a shop and they buy something, so the price has gone up. Officially, the inflation rate is 10%. The price of milk has gone up by 20% in the last few months. And they say, people are really trying to do us down. And what distrust in a society creates through inflation is social conflict. In the 1970s, we had social conflict. We had the miners striking. We had the dock workers striking. Today, what we have is school teachers striking. We have nurses striking. We have junior doctors striking. We have barristers striking. We even have civil servants striking. This was unheard of. We also have, at the same time, hugely increasing demands by the electorate for greater security. COVID was totally unforeseen, and it was an eye-opener for people as to how much security they wanted effectively from the government. They want security on health, on social care, on resilience against future pandemics, on defense spending, more spending to address inequality. And then on top of that, you have what I would only call the increasing fragmentation of society. You know, in the 19th century, we had an overarching view of the world and society, which was really the Christian religion. In the 20th century, we lived off the capital of the Christian religion. Today, we've pulled up the anchor, we're on the high seas, and what we're seeing is it's not class between labor and capital, but there's a new class emerging, professional middle class, urban, university educated, but who've lost touch with ordinary voters. And so you have Brexit, you have issues over migration, and people who are not part of that class, they feel they've been stigmatized. And of course, the great thing that you have in addition is intergenerational equity. Intergenerational equity is a hot potato in most countries. And therefore, I'm delighted that the students have been thinking about this subject for at least 2 years, and that we come together, as has been said, to really discuss it in this context. And what I like particularly, there is no obvious template which we have to do it. It's not as if the Swiss Parliament or the British Parliament or the American Congress or House of Representatives could pass laws and suddenly solve it. What the students are telling us, and it's very salutary for a more senior generation, what they're telling us is that the responsibility ultimately is us. It is what we, and in this audience this morning, there are people from very different generations, but whatever your generation, it is we who have a responsibility. We have to get at what they are concerned. I was initially concerned, the word contract to me is too close to hiring lawyers for me to really be happy with it. But what they assure me is that the contract is really an aspirational commitment. So it's a contract, whatever our background in terms of business or in terms of mediating structures in society or our role in public life, it's really for us to do. You may say, but isn't this really wishful thinking? Well, it's not. Think of how much, certainly in my lifetime, and I'm sure in some of your lifetimes, how much the role of women has changed. Think of how much, for example, we've changed in our view of our responsibility as stewards of the panel. Change is possible, and I believe this for us should be a great source of hope. The leaders of tomorrow need great wisdom, and the question is, where will that wisdom come from? Antonio Gramsci, the Italian Marxist, who I never thought I would ever quote in public, but though I have to say, I must say I do respect him. This is what he said: we must live without illusion, without becoming disillusioned. And I think that's exactly where we are. We must not become fatalistic. We must not become disillusioned. On the other hand, we have to be realists. And therefore, I hope that you take as much part as you can, challenge speakers, make your own contribution, expect to be challenged in turn. But the more you participate, the more that you'll gain. And apart from anything else, make sure that in these 2 days, you also have some fun. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Good morning, St. Gallen Symposium. Oh, come on, we can do better than that. Good morning, St. Gallen Symposium. Good morning. There we go. Thank you, Lord Griffiths. I have to tell you, I was here last year as your part conference moderator, and Lord Griffiths could only join us on screen. And I am so pleased that he was with us in person this morning, because he delivered a warning, but then he delivered a message of optimism and get it done spirit, and that is exactly what we're here for today. I'm Catherine Kluver-Ashbrook. I am a senior analyst at the senior advisor at the Bertelsmann Foundation, and the former director and CEO of the German Council on Foreign Relations. But when Beat and Gunnar called me about a year ago and said, Catherine, would you consider coming to the St. Gallen Symposium and acting as one of our co-hosts along with our students? And this year, you have met my capable team, Leo and Deborah and Cyril already. They have never heard such a resounding and fast yes. Because for over 12 years, I led at the Harvard Kennedy School a program called the Future of Diplomacy Project. And what we were trying to do there is exactly what Lord Brian Griffiths told us about, which is to prepare the next generation for the complexity of international problems. But mostly what we were trying to do is what we're going to try to do these next two days extremely actively, which is listen. Because for me, the collaboration, the curiosity, this innate fervor to get things done is what humbled me most about working with the next generation for the last 12 years. And that is why I'm here, and I profoundly believe that is why you're here as well. Harvard and St. Gallen share many academic ambitions, but they also share a commitment to experiential learning, which I know because Philippe Narval is here and he heads the Square, and the Square is dedicated to innovation in learning. So as we're changing our setup here, let's do some experiential learning together. You heard from Leo our mission for the next 2 days, to have conversations that are different, that are wide-ranging, maybe sometimes uncomfortable, and that starts right here. Could you take a look to the right and left of you and see who you're sitting next to? Now, is that a member of your own generation? Or is that a member of the next generation? Are you already fulfilling your assignment? Or do you have some work to do? Well, this buzz rivals the buzz off of the leaders of tomorrow that I got yesterday on stage. But our organizers have made it easy for us. So if you're not already buzzing, I'll give you some help. There is a little guide to winning the next 2 days, and I'll share it with you. So if you're not sitting next to somebody who is of a different generation than you are, here is how you're going to find them. 5 conversations over the next 2 days. Leaders of tomorrow, yellow badges. Aspiring leaders, green badges. Speakers, they're multi-generational, white badges. And the leaders of our student committee and the 500 volunteers, white badges and buttons. Everybody clear on their homework, yes? Look at you engaging in this experiential learning task, right? Harvard and St. Gallen, our academic traditions, would be very proud of you. In the meantime, we've done a special kind of magic on this stage, is that we've transformed our conversation platform already. Now I have to get you to quiet down because I'm about to bring people on this stage who have important things to share with you. Five years. According to the UN Development Agency, 5 years of human thriving is what we have lost.